Welcome, fourth and fifth degrees of Kevin Bacon to Shriek Salads Retro Movie Review from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we are wrapping up our Shocktober with a look at Mike's favorite horror movie.
Not my favorite, but it's in the conversation.
Okay, it's come up quite a bit. So, all right. So let me ask you, when was the first time you saw this one?
Maybe 10, 15 years ago.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, well, obviously, I hadn't seen movies for the longest time until like the mid 90s. And even then, I was never a big horror guy. So Friday the 13th was never really much on my radar. But, eventually, after college, I was like, you know what? It's a classic. I got to check it out eventually. So I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So I just kept going. And, despite the fact that I don't like horror movies, something about this series that it's entertaining to me.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair. In bits and pieces of the last 35 years, be it on like Channel 56 or AMC or HBO, I've seen it enough to piece it together, and I rewatched it. And I also watched a recap on another YouTube channel as well, just so I could kind of fit in some of the pieces. But truth be told, in terms of slasher films, I was always more of a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of guy.
Yeah, for me, Freddy is just way too overpowered.
That's his thing. He inhabits your dreams.
I know. I'd much rather have someone that you can fight.
I also pretty much grew up with Michael Myers, so that was kind of like our slasher du jour.
It's weird. Actually, before I watched Friday the 13th, Halloween was my go-to.
Yeah.
But then I saw a bunch of the sequels.
Well, that's the thing with these. The one thing that you can really give credit to Friday the 13th about is that they built upon the original movie, and that at least for a couple of them, it's not retelling the same story, just with different dead teenagers.
Yeah. That is. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, that is one thing that I do like about like Friday the 13th part like 2 and part 3 is they actually, especially part 2, they actually do kind of go into the psychology of what it would have been like for Jason watching his mother get killed.
Right. So let's start with this one though, because this is the one that started it all, and honestly started the 80s slasher craze. So essentially it starts out in, I think, was it 1957?
58.
No, it was 1958. 57, and in 58, a couple of teenagers got killed, and then in 62, they poisoned the water supply.
Yeah, you had to have the redneck townspeople telling you about the death curse.
Oh my God! Hi, can I get to Camp Crystal Lake? It was on a night just like this.
I'm actually so glad that guy that says it's a death curse.
Oh my God! What was that? What was that weirdo's name? It's
Ralph.
Yeah. He shows up. He's like, it's a death curse. You're going to Camp Blood, aren't you? And then somewhere in the span of the 3 hours that this movie takes place, he manages to bicycle 20 miles, plants himself in a in a kitchen cooler, just so he goes and it's a curse. Get out while you can. And then he rides off on his bike and he's never seen again.
Actually, he gets killed in the second one.
No, okay.
Yeah, he gets strangled by barbed wire.
The teenagers in this movie are, I'll say it, they're despicable. They really are. I mean, you got Kevin Bacon, who's kind of like the rich prat. Also the one that dies because he had sex.
Oddly enough, yeah, the ones that have sex do get killed, but the evils of being drugs are not evils of using drugs are not punished, because the last girl does, when they're playing strip Monopoly, she does, they're passing around a joint. She survives for a while.
That's true. She manages to survive. But I mean, the other girl that was with Kevin Bacon, she also dies because, sex. Yeah. I'm just looking at some of these other people here because I don't remember a whole lot of them.
I just watched this again last night just to refresh me, and oddly enough, the character Bill, who I actually really liked, he's the last one to die before the big finale. Do you know who he was played by?
Yeah,
Harry Crosby the third.
Crosby.
As in Bing Crosby's fifth son.
Oh, geez. He must have some tales of ass whooping.
Yeah. I think he's like a business broker now.
Yeah. Ned was an awful person.
Yes.
And deserved. Steve Christie. All right. So this is Steve Christie, the guy who walk in and can't take. Apart from the what in the name of Danish porn are we looking at? Between his short,
stash,
shirtless, like the curly white man's mullet with the not white man's mullet, the white man's afro with the blonde mustache. I mean, he looked like honestly looked like John Holmes's stunt double. It's just,
but he's a nice guy. That's what I will say is that and a lot of these,
he only took sexual advantage of one of the.
No. He wanted to take sexual advantage of Alice, but she said no, so he walked away.
Okay, I was under the impression that they did, in fact, do it the night before.
I think I got from the conversation that they almost did, but she pulled back at the last minute.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as long as they're off. I mean, that whole scene felt like it was shot in one take.
That for all of the the gore and the people getting killed and that scene actually kind of disturbs me a bit, because they legitimately killed that snake.
Right. Exactly. I'm talking more about like, hey, there's a snake in here. Let's kill it. Let's fall over. Let's have a whole bunch of stuff fall on us. Should we do another take of that? Nah, it looks good. Stupid Sean S. Cunningham. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I will give the movie this. It does move briskly.
Yes.
This is what, like a tight hour and a half?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the it comes down to just Alice being alive by an hour and 5 minutes. Hour and 5 minutes, hour and 7 minutes. Alice is the last one alive. So last half hour is just her versus Mrs. Voorhees.
Mother Voorhees.
Not Jason.
Right, exactly. And if you were being tormented by the Scream face killer in Scream, you should have known that, or else your boyfriend's dead. Yeah. That's like the one real takeaway from this movie is that they don't rely on the person you thought was the killer, especially if you are familiar with the series but have never watched any of the movies. You would assume Jason was the killer.
Yeah, and in fact, I do like the fact that they never show the killer. So while you're before you build up to her reveal, you're always kind of assuming that the killer is a guy, is a male.
Right. Exactly. And it's funny too. Mother looked like she's got enough strength to penetrate anybody with that knife. And that is that's like a buck knife. That's not even like, in later movies, it's like, oh, he's got a machete. It's like, oh, I bought this at the hardware store.
I've got a machete. I wonder when I will die.
Yeah. It's because there was that one girl who was hitchhiking, and then she gets killed in the woods, and it's like, I don't really know if she would, if you could, but yeah. Just saying. I'm not suggesting anybody go out and try this, but it's.
I will say it is
just.
One thing I did do while I was watching it again yesterday is that I was kind of working out. Okay, so after she killed that person, she would have to race over to there to be in position to kill that person. Then she'd have to race over. It's just kind of fun trying to figure out where exactly she would have to go to make all these deaths happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting too because you can play around with time and all that fun stuff, but it's like 3 minutes after she kills the first girl, all of a sudden now she's at the lake.
Yeah. Oh, I do also like the fact that sometimes they use the POV camera as just the camera, and sometimes they use it as the killer.
Yeah. So
that does keep you kind of guessing a little bit. But in the first scene where the two in 1958 where the cancers get killed, they sneak into the barn and they turn on the light.
Yeah.
And the camera is like pretty well obvious that the killer is just like standing there watching them, and they're just ignoring. They just go upstairs.
Exactly. Ooh, sexy feet moving back and forth. All right. Now, here's the thing with this movie. All right, the movie's almost 40 years old. And I don't know if you could really introduce a newcomer to this movie without them already knowing A, the big plot twist, B, the tropes. Because that's the thing is that 20 years ago, Scream essentially made a meta slasher film. And with that said, with an additional 20 years behind it, that's what Friday the 13th is now. It's just like, okay, well, Scream mentioned this, taking one hit off of a joint, everybody dies.
Yeah, that is the downside of the cornerstones of these genres is the fact that by the time 40 years on, when you look back at them, like, oh man, they just doing all these tropes, and when you have to remember, no, those were the movies that invented those tropes.
Exactly.
This one and Halloween were really the linchpins. They were the ones that kicked it off.
Yeah. And it's tough too because there are movies from this era that you can still recommend to people and it still seems fresh and new. Case in point, this past week has been me introducing my daughter to a whole bunch of 80s Halloween movies, and Ghostbusters just lives up. She's not used to those types of comedy tropes, and Beetlejuice, same thing. Obviously, I'm not showing her. If I had a high school friend, like any of these high school kids that I'm doing the show with right now, they're like, oh, I want to watch a Halloween movie. Watch Friday the 13th. They might already be familiar with every step of this. This is like watching Law and Order for 15 years. Eventually, you're going to know it's one of 3 choose your own adventures.
Yeah, I don't think Autumn would appreciate you showing Scarlet Friday the 13th.
No. I might get away with Sleepy Hollow, but that might be about it because I think it's just gory beheadings.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is tough. I can understand why people like this, especially people in our age bracket, because this is what you grew up with. It's just, I think this movie could very well struggle to find a new audience, especially when you think about that they did remake Friday the 13th about was it like 9 or 10 years ago they remade it, and it didn't do
2009.
well. No. Yeah, it did not do well at all. Very, very didn't do well at all. And quite honestly, the only one of the reboots that has actually had any success at all was the first Rob Zombie Halloween.
Although, well,
and most people don't even like that one.
And I don't know if you'd really call the last Halloween movie as a reboot, because it is a sequel.
Because they kept Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about like just in terms of a modern audience is more. I mean, especially with the absolute glut of PG-13 horror movies and anything in the Annabelle series. And then the master of horror now is Jordan freaking Peele.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I am not wrong on that at all. I mean, Jordan Peele is the master of modern horror right now, which is crazy to me. I haven't seen either of his movies, by the way, and I really need to.
Nor have I. I'm again not big on horror, so probably won't.
I'm not. I like a good suspense. I like having my mind messed with. But just like The Wire, I'm going to take the white person excuse here and say I'll get around to seeing them. Still haven't seen The Wire yet either.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm a bad white person. So,
one thing I will say that does absolutely stand up about this movie is the score.
It does. Very. You know what? Let go in a lot of instances.
Yeah, Henry Manfredini. And if you actually listen, I was like paying attention to that one as well when I was watching it, and he takes a lot of cues from Jaws, because the score is kind of standing in for the killer a lot of time because you're not seeing the killer. Mm-hmm. And like there are a few instances like in the beginning, like the character Brenda, she's fixing up the archery range, and suddenly an arrow flies right past her. There's no sound. Yeah. There's no music because that's not the killer. The score isn't tricking you into thinking it's the killer. It's only there when it's really in danger.
Right, exactly. No, that was what's his name, Nate, who is again awful.
Yeah.
You're not Native American. Take that feather off, racist.
Yeah, he any excuse for him to get into his underwear.
Oh my God, no, yeah. There's a lot of tight, short shorts in this, which apparently was the style at the time.
Yeah. Late 70s, early 80s. There you go.
When this movie came out, I have no memory of that. Yeah.
And they
were. I'm glad to see that absolutely nobody went on to do it.
Well, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. This movie really ruined the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game really quickly. The funniest part about this movie, though, is Mother Voorhees. First of all, the killer is essentially wearing like a pink turtleneck. Mm. And Alice takes like the weakest swipe at her with. I'm trying to remember, what did she kill her with? Was it?
No. She did kill her with the machete. Because Mother Voorhees, he's had the machete at the start, and then she used an oar to kind of knock it away, and then They were just doing some knockdown drag out fight on that sand.
Yeah. I also don't think that Alice has enough strength to actually sever bone from bone. So
no, and those hands reaching up, yeah, those were, I think, the director's hands.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because Mother Voorhees didn't have the hairy arms.
It's just funny. That's true. It's just funny too because this is the first one, and it's kind of the forgotten one, mainly because it doesn't include Jason. Even if you think about it, like Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason wasn't wearing the hockey mask. That didn't come till I think what 3?
Yep, Part 3.
Part 3, 3D.
So bad 3D.
Yeah. Well, with Friday the 13th and Halloween, which one brought out the psychic child afterwards? Was it Friday the 13th or was it Halloween?
Ooh. Well, in Friday the 13th, the psychic child wasn't until Part 7.
Okay. And the psychic child was in Part 4 of Halloween, but that came out in like I think 88 or 89. So I think Friday the 13th might win on this one because we were already by 89 we were already at Jason Takes Manhattan.
Was that 89? I have to look this up now.
Okay.
Friday the 13th franchise. Wait.
Get it?
Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood was May 13th, 1988.
Okay.
And for Halloween franchise, you are Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers was 1988.
Oh, same year. They both introduced the I call this a stalemate then. That they both introduced the psychic child in the same year.
Yes, but what about Nightmare on Elm Street?
Nightmare on Elm Street's all about psychic people. Dream Warriors came out in 87.
Saha! So we have a culprit.
Freddy wins.
Yeah, I still don't like Freddy.
Okay. Let's get it at 13th, Mike.
All right. The jump scare at the end, that got me the first 5 or 6 times I watched the movie.
Yep. It's so funny too because you think of Jason being like this huge bulking homunculus, and essentially they just throw like a rubber dummy just to be like.
No, that wasn't a rubber dummy. That was the actual actor.
Yeah, I know.
He was hanging out in that freezing cold water for a long time. They filmed it right in New Jersey too.
Oh, well, that makes all the sense in the world.
Filmed in New Jersey in the autumn, which you can tell by all the trees, and so that water was probably 40, 50 degrees.
Exactly, for their summer camp.
Yeah. Summer camp where the leaves are changing color.
Already. Come on, we all know it's just an excuse for the counselors to bang. Prove me wrong.
I love Friday the 13th. This one is not my favorite of the series. Absolutely not.
Okay. I don't think it's anybody's, really.
But I respect it.
Yes. I know you have a soft spot for Jason X, so.
Yeah. Jason X and Jason 6 are Friday the 13th Part 6 are probably my 2 favorites.
Okay. I'll continue with the other 2. So, anyway, that was Friday the 13th. What are your thoughts on the first movie? Leave a civil comment below. Don't forget to like this video and smash that subscribe button so you can get all of our video content. Every week we have a new video coming out, primarily movie reviews like this. We also offer our audio for our podcast, Geek Salad, here as well. We just released our Halloween episode a couple days ago. So where Mike, myself, and our crew of geeks talk about television horror shows. Quite a good show, by the way. I get a lot of compliments on it.
Yeah, I thought it was very entertaining.
Very entertaining. We made it through the firewall. Ooh. And you can check out that as well as all of our episodes at geeksalad.podbean.com. You can download the Podbean app for the full archive. You can also check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Music, as well, again, here at YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. So, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and
happy Halloween.
Halloween.